Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Last two lessons, PowerPoint slash Zoom, Loom slash YouTube lessons for the year. Okay. Um, this is topic 4, fresh and saltwater systems, how human activities affect aquatic environments. We've sort of already talked about that in the population video and when we talked about water quality, but we're going to talk about some of the ways we use water. So, number one, 4.1, how humans use water. Okay. So, first, think of a few ways we use water directly. Okay. So, when we're talking about using something directly, that means we're physically using it. I'm going to show an example right here. I got my water bottle. I have just used my water directly. That water has come from my tap into my water bottle through the straw into me. I'm directly using the water. Okay. This morning, oh, I smell great. I took a nice shower. Okay. I took a shower. That water went right onto me. I washed myself. It was perfect, nice and clean. Directly using the water. Okay. However, so that's pretty easy. Come and thinking of how we use the water directly. Going out swimming, we're jumping in the water. Watering the grass, we're taking the water, putting it right onto the grass. We're using the water directly in all those applications. What about some ways we use water indirectly? Another way, using water indirectly. Okay. How am I using water indirectly here? It has nothing to do with the water that's inside the cup. Okay. This cup is plastic. Okay. The lid is plastic. This is plastic. Water was put in, or water was used when they made the plastic. Okay. Maybe they mixed a little bit of water in there, used to keep the machinery cool. Okay. I had a nice beef steak this weekend, a nice steak this weekend. That was using water indirectly. How did I use that water indirectly? Sure, there might have been a little bit of juices and things like that in the steak, but the way I indirectly used the water there was back when the cow was drinking the water, was eating the grass, which the water fell down, watered the grass grew, or the hay grew, or the whatever grew that the cow was eating, the cow ate that. Okay. And in turn, I went and I ate the cow. I'm indirectly using the water. Okay. So we use water two ways. We use it directly and indirectly. It's super, super important to us. Okay. So some of the ways that we use water around the world, we're going to go over 3. Okay. First one is agricultural. Okay. And I got a beautiful picture of an agricultural sprinkler here. Okay. Watering a field. Okay. Out of all of the uses of water, 73%, so that's a pretty high number, 73% of all the water used by people around the world is for agriculture, for growing crops. Okay. And this is extremely important for our economy. Okay. The dollar, okay, the big dollar. It's very, very, very important, especially here. Alberta is an agricultural province. We know that. Okay. It helps provide jobs, tons of jobs out there in the cultural industry. When I went to university, I got my degree in environmental sciences. Environmental sciences was part of the agricultural department at the university. There's a whole department in the university all about agriculture. Okay, but irrigation can also cause problems. Like anything, there's always a downside. Over irrigation of the soil can actually dissolve salts and other things into the ground that prevents plants and crops from growing. Okay. Also, over irrigation, we talked about fertilizer and whatnot. It can cause more runoff. Okay, more runoff into from farmers' fields into lakes and water bodies. Those types of things. So there's definitely a trade-off. I'm not saying get rid of agriculture. We need it. Okay. I'm not talking about getting rid of irrigation. We need it. It's very, very important. And I'm going to actually be putting some YouTube clips on irrigation actually down here in Calgary on the Bow River. Very, very important for you guys to watch. Try to stay awake on it. Okay. It can also deplete groundwater supplies. So a lot of the water that they get for these irrigation spigots and whatnot, they can go and they can take that water from groundwater and it's going to deplete the supply. Remember we talked about groundwater, how clean, especially well water is and whatnot. So over irrigation can remove that water from the ground. The next highest use for water is industrial use, and I used my cup as an example. Okay, and it's 22% of human water use is for industry. Okay, and I got a picture of a plant here with water next to it. Okay, we've talked about this in the classroom. We've talked about this in other lessons. How a lot of these plants are typically built around huge water bodies, And the reason for it is the water is used as a coolant to prevent the machinery from overheating, and for a solvent, for washing, for diluting pollutants, all those types of things. Okay, talked about when I worked up in a diamond mine, and they had the water around the diamond mine. There's a lot of lakes around it, but they would go and they'd dig big giant holes into the ground to mine for the diamonds. They would grind things up, grind all the dirt and all the other minerals up, and then they had to transport somewhere. Well, they dumped it into another lake, okay, and then in turn that big giant hole that they made from the big diamond mine, once the mine was finished, it would eventually fill up with water, and then be a nice little large man-made lake. Okay, plastic industry uses huge amounts of water, and that's why I was showing that example of my cup. Domestic use. This is the last use that we're going to talk about. Okay, and I showed you that already. I was drinking some water. I don't know why this is working. Okay, water in the homes is about 5% of the total water use worldwide. Okay, and the picture on the left here has some examples of ways that we use the water in our homes. Okay. In Canada, our water is purified and piped to our homes, but in other countries, that's not the case. In other countries, they have to go and they have to get the water from certain spots, or it gets piped to the area through pipes on up, but maybe it's not as clean. So in those cases, they have to take extra care. Okay, told you it was short and sweet. Some important terms for you guys to know. These are the last slides here. The first one is, sorry, oh, there we go. Irrigation. Irrigation is the supply of water to lands and crops to help growth. And like I said, I'll be putting some links for irrigation here in Alberta, especially southern Alberta. Irrigation is huge for us. Very, very important. Okay, there are different types of irrigation. There's drip, sprinkler, manual, etc. Okay, so drip irrigation, the water just drips down from air, gets drips down. Sprinklers, like sprinkling your yard, or you see the big giant sprinklers that are on those fields. Sometimes you see them turned on and they're attached to big wheels and they move across the field. And manual is actually physically manually adding the water, taking the water to the crops, and putting on sprinkling using your hose at in your yard. Another one is ditch irrigation, where you take irrigation canals and you divert the water and you just flood the whole entire area. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. So that is it for topic 4.1. Very, very, very short lesson. So you are going to get a few videos to go along with this. The next lesson's even shorter. Okay, it's 3 slides. Highly recommend you guys go through your textbook for this. You'll definitely need the textbook hints for some of the quiz questions. Other than that, send me an email if you have any questions.